Hi, boys and girls. So you should have went ahead and answered that do now question off of that commercial that we just looked at. So now as we get started in our lesson, I want to introduce you guys to an acronym. So the acronym that we have is PIE, which helps us understand the author's purpose. So that means that PIE, the word PIE, P stands for persuade, I is for inform, and then E is for entertain. So that's something that you can keep in mind throughout this lesson to kind of try and help you when we're trying to decide what the author's trying to do in their writing. So the first one we can talk about is persuade. So to persuade means that the author is trying to convince you of something or get you to do something. So let's look at a paragraph where the author is trying to persuade. Halloween is the best holiday of the year. Everyone should go out and get a costume. If you can't find one to buy, make one. Halloween is better than the other holidays because you get to trick or treat with your friends. So, after looking at that paragraph, there's a couple things that we can look at to help us understand what the author is trying to do, which is to persuade. So, we can look at the word best. So, that first sentence says, Halloween is the best holiday of the year. So, using that opinion right there kind of helps us understand a little bit that the author is trying to persuade rather than to inform or to entertain. Another word or another two words that the author uses is better than. So the sentence reads Halloween is better than the other holidays because you get to trick or treat with your friends. So they're kind of comparing Halloween to all of the other holidays that we have and saying that it's better. So seeing that they have that compare and contrast kind of structure in that paragraph helps us understand that the author is trying to persuade. That's the purpose of this paragraph. So, other places that authors are usually trying to persuade is in commercials, in reviews. So, like if you're ordering something off of Amazon and you see the 5 stars, if that product has 5 stars, that review is kind of going to persuade you a little bit to get that product over something that maybe only has 2 stars and a bad review. Another thing would be advertisements, and that's some of the places where you can see where the author is trying to persuade. So the next purpose that an author could write is to inform. So to inform means that they are trying to teach you or give you information and facts about a topic. So let's look at a paragraph where the author's purpose is to inform. Birthdays are celebrated around the world. In the United States, people celebrate with cake and candles. Many other places celebrate with singing songs. In Mexico, a birthday is celebrated with a piñata filled with candy. A person uses a broomstick to hit the piñata. Each of these birthday traditions is a fun celebration. So there's a couple things that we can look at in this paragraph to help us know that the author's purpose is to inform. So we can look at the fact in this sentence that says, in the United States, people celebrate with cakes and candles. So they're kind of giving us a fact there that mostly a lot of people in the United States celebrate with cake and candles. I know that I do, and I'm sure that you probably do as well. Now, another sentence that you can see in this paragraph that helps us know that the author's purpose is to inform is in Mexico, a birthday is celebrated with a piñata filled with candy. So, looking at that sentence, we kind of got another fact. I know that when my dad was growing up in Mexico, he did use piñatas to celebrate his birthday or birthdays in Mexico. So, that's kind of another little fact there that helps us understand that the author's purpose of this paragraph is to inform. So, some other places that you can see where the author is usually trying to inform is in textbooks, like in school, in articles like magazines and newspapers. And some magazines are to entertain, but there are some magazines that are strictly just to inform. Also in biographies, remember back to when we did our invention and scientist project, our influential inventor and scientist project, we used websites that were online biographies to help us inform whoever was looking at our piece, in this case me or Miss Hulk, about who your influential person was. And then lastly, in recipes. So recipes, they teach you and inform you on how to bake a cake or cook pancakes or whatever the recipe would be for. And lastly, what we are looking at today for the author's purpose is to entertain. So, to entertain means that they are trying to tell you a story that you will enjoy. So, we're going to read a paragraph now that demonstrates the author's purpose of entertaining. Rio and Marcus sat in the back seat of the car as their dad drove. The car traveled quickly on the highway, and it seemed like they had been in the car for hours. Suddenly, their dad started singing loudly and dancing. He turned the music up, and the boys cracked up. They laughed so hard, and their faces turned bright red. So, after looking at that paragraph, you can kind of see that they're telling us a story. And maybe it's not the most entertaining story, but that's what the purpose of this is for. It's not to inform, they're not talking about how fast you need to be going on the highway because of the laws of in New Jersey. They're not stating facts there. And they're not trying to persuade you that when you're driving in the car, you should blast the music really loud because it makes it a really fun drive. They're kind of just telling you a story to be exciting and to entertain. So other places that authors are usually trying to entertain are in fiction stories, fantasy stories, mystery stories, and in comics. So, like I was saying before, we were using that acronym PIE. So this is Easy as Pie. This is a game that we're going to be playing. So for the students that are in the class, they're going to be needing a whiteboard, a marker, and eraser. But if you're watching this online, you can just write down your answers on a piece of paper, or you can just say them in your head and then wait until the correct answer is shared in the video. So how to play. I will display a paragraph on the screen and read it aloud. You will then identify if the author's purpose is to persuade, inform, or entertain. Once you have identified the author's purpose, you will write a P for persuade, I for inform, or an E for entertain on your whiteboard, or in this case, in your head or on a piece of paper. You will not hold it up for me to say until I say so. Again, these are rules for kids that are students that are in the classroom. So then eventually I will share the correct answer with the class, and then we are going to discuss a little bit about it and then move on to the next question or the next paragraph. So our first one. Sarita was excited to get out of the car. She had been waiting for today for weeks, and it was finally here. She skipped as she went up the walkway to the house, and her mom opened the door. Suddenly, everyone shouted, "Surprise!" So now you can go ahead and pause the video. And when we come back, we're going to share the answer on the author's purpose. Remember, you're picking from persuade, persuade, inform, or entertain, the acronym PIE, P-I-E, to help you remember a little bit. Okay, so you should have went ahead and made a guess on what you think this paragraph is doing and what the author's purpose is. So the purpose of this writing was to entertain. So like in the example we showed before in the lesson, they're talking about a story. They're not informing us about having parties or how to throw parties. They're not trying to persuade you to have a birthday party or to have a surprise party. This story is just kind of a story, and that's what it is doing. It is entertaining. Now, the next paragraph. The United States has 5 branches of the military. The Army, Navy, Air Force, Coast Guard, and Marines are the 5 branches. Each branch serves an important role for the country. The country relies on the people who serve in order to protect freedom. So you can go ahead and pause that video, and when you come back, we can go over the answer. So the answer that you should have, or the answer that is correct for this paragraph is to inform. So we know that because this paragraph is giving us facts. So for example, it names the 5 branches of the U.S. military. So we know that giving us those facts that the author's purpose in this paragraph is to inform. The next paragraph. Have you seen the dancing show on TV? It is very entertaining. You should watch it because you will see new dance moves. You will like the music too. Sometimes I like to get up and dance while the show is on. The show is really good and you will enjoy it. So you can go ahead and pause that video, and when we come back, we'll go over the answer. So the author's purpose of this story is to persuade. So we know that because not only is the author talking about this dance show that they like to watch on TV, they say that it's very entertaining, that you should watch it, and then they go into talking about why you should watch it. So they're kind of trying to persuade you to get you to watch this dancing TV show. The next paragraph. When going to the grocery store, you can waste a lot of time. If you don't want to spend a lot of time, you can make a list of what food you need before you go and stick to your list. Think about what you will be needing for breakfast, lunch, and dinner to make sure you include everything. So you can go ahead and pause the video, and then when we come back, we'll go over the answer. So the author's purpose of this paragraph is, again, to persuade. So the author is trying to persuade you to create a grocery list before you go to the grocery store so that you get everything that you need and that it doesn't take a lot of time. So they're trying to do that by telling you that what to do to make that process go a little bit faster. And also by saying if you don't want to spend a lot of time, so they're kind of trying to persuade you into not wanting or not having to spend a lot of time at the grocery store. I know I do not like spending a lot of time at the grocery store. So the next paragraph is, the John Hancock Building in Chicago is one of the tallest buildings in the state and the second tallest in the city. There is an observation deck over 1,000 feet above the streets of Chicago. It also has the only open-air observation deck in the city. Visitors walking out in the air only protected by mesh fencing. So you can go ahead and pause that video, and then when you come back, we can review the answer. So this paragraph and the author's purpose is to inform. So we know that because there are some facts that the author gives us. They say about that the John Hancock Building in Chicago is one of the tallest buildings in the state and the second tallest in the city. So listing some of those facts throughout the paragraph shows that the author's purpose is to inform. The next paragraph. Summer is the best season of them all. Who wouldn't love warm weather and no school? In the summer, you can do fun activities like go to the beach, ride bikes, and swim in the pool. Summertime is simply amazing. So you can go ahead and pause the video, and then when we come back, we'll review the answer. So the answer to this one is that the author's purpose is to persuade. So we know this because they're saying that the summer is the best season of them all. So stating that opinion there kind of helps us understand that the author is trying to persuade us rather than to inform when we should be looking at facts or to entertain, because this isn't a story. This is a persuasive piece. So now, in your Google form, you will see that you have a printout version that you can print this out so that you can create a little flip chart that you can use to help when you are working on your independent practice portion of your lesson today. If you don't have a printer at home, that's absolutely fine. You can just go ahead and look at the diagram here. But if you do have a printer, you can go ahead and print this out, and you can actually fold right across on this line. And then you can cut right in between the P and the I and the I and the E. And then once it's folded in half, you can flip each flap up, and underneath it, you can write what each letter stands for so that you can kind of use this as a tool. But like I said, if you don't have a printer at home, that's absolutely fine. So in this diagram, you can see that the first one is to persuade, which means that the author is trying to convince you of something or get you to do something. The I is to inform, which means that they are trying to teach you or give you information and facts about a topic. And then lastly, the E, which is they are telling you a story that you will enjoy. So now for your to-do list. So you will write on your flip chart what each letter stands for. Again, if you do not have that option of printing, you can always just go back to the slide that we just looked at and use that as you complete your independent work. So after you do either print or go back and view that, you will open your Google Classroom and complete your Google form on author's purpose. You will also have an exit ticket to complete. And then I just put for extra time, if you wanted to, you could always color your flip chart. I know that sometimes coloring things in and seeing them in a color kind of helps me remember things when I'm studying a little bit. So that's completely up to you. Just don't forget that when you are working on your independent work, you will have 5 questions. And not only are you answering if the paragraphs are to persuade, inform, or entertain, but you also need to do a brief explanation on why. So after you're reading that, why do you know or how do you know that that paragraph is to persuade or to inform or to entertain? So I hope you enjoyed today's lesson. I hope it was helpful to you when trying to understand what the author's purpose is. And I hope that you use this skill in your daily lives to help you when you are looking at commercials or reading magazines or newspapers or ads online or on the TV to kind of help you understand what that author is doing and why they are doing it. So I hope you liked today's lesson, and I look forward to looking at your answers. Bye.